Hey everyone, welcome to another deep dive.
With us.
Yeah.
Today, we're going to be looking at the work and creative journey of Jon M.
Ooh, fun.
He's obviously someone who a lot of people know as the director of Crazy Rich Asians,
Right.
and also has a really interesting history in filmmaking going way back and a
Yeah.
lot further than that.
Yeah.
But we're going to be specifically looking at a TED Talk that he did and an article that was written about him.
Okay.
We're going to kind of go through those and look at what we can glean from his creative journey.
Right.
He's about to tackle the Wicked adaptation.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I mean, he's really...
And that's a huge
Yeah.
undertaking.
Yeah, he's someone who is really kind of hitting his stride, I think, in terms of filmmaking
Yeah.
and how he's approaching creativity and leadership and storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited to kind of dive into all of that with you.
Yeah, me too.
Like,
I think one of the things that's so interesting about Chu is that he really sees limitations as a source of creativity.
Okay.
Like you would think someone at his level would be like, okay,
Right.
budgets, no problem,
Yeah.
we can do whatever we want. But he actually finds that those limitations,
Yeah.
like budget constraints or, even like the expectations of adapting something,
Right.
like Wicked, which is so beloved, he sees those things as a springboard
Yeah.
for something new.
Like he thrives on that challenge
Yeah,
almost.
it's totally.
Instead of feeling like, oh, I'm restricted by this.
Right.
He's like, well, this is going
Yes.
to push me to think differently.
Make me better.
Yeah, exactly.
Exclaim it.
And do something I wouldn't have done otherwise.
Yeah. And he has this great quote where he's talking about
Okay.
working on one of his early films, and he had a really tight budget.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, it forced us to be more creative with our solutions.
I love that.
And I think that's such a valuable lesson for like anyone listening, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like think about a time when you were working on a project
Mm-hmm.
and maybe you had limited resources.
Right.
Did it force you to think outside the box
Yeah.
and come up with something more innovative than you would have if you had all the money in the world?
Yeah, and I think, Chu really emphasizes the power of collaboration in those situations too.
Yes.
He talks about how bringing diverse perspectives to the table not only makes the team feel good,
Mm-hmm.
but also really leads to a stronger final product.
For sure.
And I think that's something that he
learned that early on too.
and he talks about this a lot in his work,
Yeah.
about his upbringing in his family's Chinese restaurant.
Yes.
And he always talks about how it wasn't just about the food, it was about like
Right.
the community,
Serving.
serving people, understanding people, like
Understanding people,
Right.
anticipating their needs.
anticipating their needs. And it's such a great example, I think, of leadership in action.
Totally.
and-
Agudia, like.
That really resonated with me. I feel like that's something that, obviously his parents' restaurant really shaped his,
Oh, for sure.
yeah,
I mean, how could it not?
and his approach to leadership. I mean, it's not about being the boss and giving orders. It's about
Right.
creating an environment where everyone feels empowered to contribute and,
Absolutely. And I think that's especially important in filmmaking, right? Where you have all these different
so many
departments and people and,
Mm-hmm.
the actors, the set designers.
cinematographers.
Yeah, everybody has such a vital role to play
Yeah,
in bringing that vision to life.
totally. And
Yeah.
and it's interesting too how that ties into
Yeah.
his personal journey as well.
Mm-hmm.
He's spoken really openly about battling imposter syndrome
Yeah.
early in his career and feeling this pressure to conform, to fit a certain mold.
Right.
But over time, you can see how he's really embraced his unique voice and background as a Chinese American. And that kind of brings us to...
Which brings us to the power of identity
Yeah.
and storytelling.
Yes.
I mean, this is like at the heart of what makes his films so compelling.
Yeah, and it's not just like a token thing.
No,
Yeah.
it's not just about like, oh, let's check off the diversity box.
Right.
It's really about reflecting the richness and complexity of the human experience.
Absolutely.
I mean, think about that scene
Yeah.
in Crazy Rich Asians when Rachel meets Nick's family for the first time.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Such a good scene.
it's just beautifully showcases the beauty of Singaporean culture,
Right.
but it also kind of subverts that whole tiger mom stereotype.
Yeah. Yes, totally.
And I think that's
Right.
so powerful.
Yeah, it's like he's really using his platform to
Yeah.
challenge stereotypes and to tell authentic stories
Yeah.
that resonate with people from all backgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that kind of leads us into talking about.
It does,
Yeah.
this upcoming adaptation of Wicked. It's a great example of how he's using his voice
Yeah.
to reimagine a classic.
Beloved classic. And it's interesting, too, because this isn't just him, like,
Right.
jumping on a trend.
He's been a fan.
He's loved this musical for years.
Of Wicked for years.
And you can feel that passion in his approach to this adaptation.
Fun. I think
he's not just like phoning it in.
The decision to split it into 2 movies was...
Yeah, that was a bold move.
A bold move, yeah.
And I think...
But I think it really shows his commitment to the story.
Speaks volumes about his dedication to this.
It's like he's saying...
Yeah, it's like, I want to give you...
I want to give you the full experience.
Your full experience. Yeah. And I'm not going to cram it into one film just for the sake of convenience.
Yeah.
And I think fans will really appreciate that.
I think so, too.
Yeah. I think it...
Because it shows that he really...
Shows that he understands the source material.
The source material.
And wants to honor its richness and complexity.
So, sure.
And what's also interesting is how he kind of navigates this constantly evolving world of technology.
Right.
You know, he's obviously really excited about the possibilities of AI and...
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, who isn't these days?
And you know, other advancements. But he's also really cautious about their limitations.
He is.
Yeah.
I think he's got a really good perspective on it.
He does.
You know, he's not afraid to embrace new technology, but he also recognizes that technology shouldn't replace the human element of storytelling.
Yeah, he said something like...
He said that he uses AI to help him plan complex camera movements.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it's the human eye.
But that it's the human eye that chooses the perfect shot.
That makes the final decision.
Yeah.
So it's like he's finding that sweet spot.
Reminder that technology is a tool, not a replacement for creative vision.
100%.
And speaking of vision, I mean, you can't talk about Jon M without talking about his emphasis on love and family.
Right.
Those themes are just so deeply embedded.
Oh, they're everywhere.
In his work.
Yeah.
And it's clear that they're driving forces in his life as well. And he's talked about how his family instilled those values in him.
Right, from a young age.
From a young age. And you know.
And now he's kind of carrying that legacy forward.
Exactly.
With those films.
And I think that's what, it's not just about entertainment.
This makes his work, so.
It's about creating something meaningful that connects with people.
Especially.
Yeah.
It's not just about entertaining, it's about...
On a deeper level.
Yeah, creating something that's going to last and have an impact.
For sure.
So,
and it's inspiring to see how those personal values translate into his filmmaking.
Yeah, and how he brings those values into his leadership style, too.
Totally. You know, he's talked about how his parents' approach to running the restaurant influenced his own approach to directing.
He learned from the best.
Yeah.
I mean, that restaurant wasn't just a business. It was a hub for the community.
Totally.
You know, it was a place where people gathered and shared stories and felt a sense of belonging.
A home away from home for a lot of people.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you can see that.
And you can see how that same spirit of community carries over into his film sets.
Yeah, it's like he fosters this atmosphere of inclusivity and respect.
Absolutely.
Where everyone feels valued and
everyone feels empowered.
Empowered to contribute. To contribute their unique talents.
Their unique talents, yeah. And it's no wonder that his films feel so vibrant and alive.
Yeah.
You can sense that everyone involved is invested in the project. Excited to be a part of the creative process.
Totally. And speaking of creative process, let's talk about how he approaches adapting existing material.
Okay.
I mean, he's taken on some pretty iconic stories, right?
Yeah, like Crazy Rich Asians, the upcoming Wicked adaptation.
Wicked, yeah. I mean, how does he balance...
how does he...
Staying true to the source material.
I find that balance.
While also bringing his own unique vision to it.
Yeah, I think it's all about respect.
I think so, too.
You know, he clearly has a deep reverence for the source material.
Yeah.
Whether it's a beloved novel, a Broadway musical, or even a real-life event.
Right.
But he's also not afraid to take risks and put his own creative stamp on the story.
Totally. And I think we see that in Crazy Rich Asians.
Like in Crazy Rich Asians.
Where he takes Kevin Kwan's novel and he captures the glamour and opulence of Singaporean high society. But he also infuses it with so much heart and humor.
Totally making it relatable to a global audience.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And the decision to split Wicked into 2 movies, I mean, that's another great example.
Another great example of that.
Of his commitment to honoring that source material.
Yeah, he's not trying to cram everything into one film.
Right, yeah.
He's giving himself the space and the time to really fully explore the story's emotional depth and complexity. And makes you wonder, like, how does he approach those big decisions?
I know.
Like, how does he decide what elements to emphasize, what aspects to streamline, what details to add or change?
Yeah, I think it comes down to his deep understanding of storytelling.
Okay.
You know, he has this innate ability to identify the core themes and emotions that resonate with audiences.
Yeah.
And then he just builds his vision around those elements.
Interesting.
He's not afraid to experiment and try new things, but he always keeps the heart of the story front and center.
Yeah, that's cool. And that kind of brings us to the question of technology.
It does?
You know, filmmaking is a constantly evolving art form.
Always changing.
With new tools and techniques emerging all the time.
All the time.
How does Chu navigate that landscape?
Right.
How does he incorporate new technology while still preserving the human element?
It's a fascinating balance.
Yeah, it is.
Isn't it?
It's a tough one.
On the one hand, he's clearly excited about the potential of technology to enhance storytelling.
Yeah, he's experimented with cutting-edge visual effects, immersive sound design, even incorporated elements of virtual reality into his work.
He seems to have this playful curiosity about it. You know, like he's always looking for new ways to push the boundaries of what's possible in filmmaking. But at the same time,
he's very mindful of not letting technology overshadow the human element of storytelling.
He's spoken about.
Yeah, you know, the importance of preserving the emotional core of a story, even when using technology to enhance the visual spectacle.
He has that great quote about using AI to help him plan complex camera movements.
Yes.
But ultimately, it's the human eye.
But it's the human eye that chooses the perfect shot.
That makes the final decision. It's a reminder.
It's a good reminder.
That technology is a tool. Not a replacement.
Not a replacement for artistic vision.
For human sensibility.
Exactly.
And that's what makes his work so compelling.
Yeah.
He's not afraid to embrace the latest technology.
Right.
But he always uses it in service of the story.
And the characters.
Yeah.
He never loses sight.
And the human element.
But the human element, the emotional connection.
An emotional connection that makes a film.
That makes a film truly resonant.
And speaking of human connection.
It's clear that Chu values collaboration and mentorship.
Oh, absolutely.
He's often talked about the importance of surrounding yourself with talented people and learning from those.
He's a firm believer in paying it forward.
Who have come before you.
You know, he's mentored numerous young filmmakers.
He's mentored a lot of them.
He's always willing to share his knowledge and experience with others. He understands that the creative process thrives.
That sense of community again.
Collaboration and the sharing of ideas.
It's not about just individual success. It's about lifting each other up and creating something.
It's about something bigger.
Bigger than ourselves.
Than ourselves.
And that kind of brings us back to...
Which brings us back to his core values.
His core values, love family, the importance of human connection.
Human connection.
And I think these themes are woven.
They're woven into the very fabric of his work.
The very fabric of his work?
They're not just themes.
Yeah. They're
a driving force.
They're a driving force behind his creative vision.
Behind his creative vision.
He wants to create films that celebrate those values. Films that inspire us. To be better, kinder.
To be more connected human beings.
We're connected, and it's not just about entertaining us. He's challenging us.
He's challenging us.
To think about
the world around us.
The world around us and our place in it. Yeah, and how we can make a positive impact.
Exactly.
And he's doing it all through...
And he's doing it through the power of storytelling.
The power of storytelling.
You know, he understands that stories have the power to move us.
They do.
To change us, to connect us on a deeper level.
On a deeper level, it's a powerful reminder.
It is.
That we all have stories to tell.
We do.
Yeah.
And those stories have the potential.
And those stories have the potential to
make a difference.
Make a difference.
So what kind of stories do you think Jon M. Chu will tell in the future?
What do you think we can expect from him?
I know, right?
Yeah.
What new challenges?
What new challenges will he embrace?
Will he embrace? What new boundaries?
What new boundaries will he push?
Will he push? I can't wait to see.
I'm excited to see what he does next.
Me too.
Yeah.
He's a true innovator, a visionary storyteller.
He's not afraid to take risks.
Who's not afraid to take risks.
And challenge conventions.
And
he's doing it all with...
with heart,
humor and a deep belief in the power of human connection.
And a deep belief in the power of human connection.
I love that.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
It feels like he's just getting started.
He does feel like he's just getting started, even with all that he's accomplished.
Right.
It's like...
When you think about his work from those early dance films to the upcoming Wicked adaptation, it's clear there's this constant evolution.
Yeah, there's a through line.
Yeah.
But he's not afraid to take on new challenges.
He's not afraid.
And experiment with different genres and styles. Yeah, and yet there's always...
that
Jon M touch.
Jon M touch.
Yeah.
That blend of spectacle and heart.
Yeah, the blend of spectacle and heart.
That ability to connect with audiences. On an emotional level. And he said before...
He's also said that...
That he wants to create films that his children will be proud of. Films that
will inspire.
And uplift. It's not just about entertainment.
Yeah. It's about leaving a positive mark on the world.
It's about leaving a legacy, I think.
And that brings us back.
It does. To one of the key takeaways from our deep dive today.
From this whole conversation.
The power of story.
The power of story.
You know, Chu firmly believes...
And he's a great example of that.
That stories can connect us.
He embodies it.
Across cultures. Inspire empathy and spark meaningful change.
Yeah.
And he's living proof of that.
Yeah. I mean...
His films have not only entertained millions...
His films have.
But they've also started conversations.
Sparked so many conversations.
About representation and identity.
The importance of embracing diversity. You know, he's really using his platform. To amplify voices.
That have often been marginalized.
That haven't been heard. And
that's incredibly powerful.
That's a really beautiful thing.
He's not just telling stories, he's changing the narrative.
Yeah, he's changing the narrative.
And he's doing
it with such a sense of joy.
With a sense of joy and optimism.
It's optimism.
That's infectious. Yeah, you can't help but feel inspired.
I feel inspired just thinking about his work. And
by his passion and his belief.
Yeah.
The power of human connection.
And it makes you realize that we all have stories to tell. Stories that can move people and challenge perspectives.
Challenge perspective.
I make a difference in the world. And, you know, we may not all be Hollywood directors.
We could all be storytellers.
But we can all be storytellers.
In our own way. Absolutely. So as we kind of wrap up this first part of our deep dive into Jon M. Chu.
Into the creative journey of Jon M. Chu.
We want to leave you with this question.
Right. Hit us with it.
What story do you want to tell? Ooh, that's a good one.
What experiences have shaped your perspective?
Yeah.
What values do you hold dear? And what message do you want to share with the world?
What do you want to bring?
Yeah. What impact do you want to make?
Yeah.
Take some time to reflect on that. And remember, you don't need a camera or a stage to be a storyteller.
Your life, your voice.
Your life, your voice.
Your unique perspective. Those are the ingredients. For a powerful and meaningful narrative.
Yep. So we'll leave you with that thought for now. And we'll be back. In just a moment.
To
continue our exploration of Jon M. Chu's work.
And his creative journey.
So
stay tuned.
And
we'll see you right back here. See you soon. So, you know, we were talking about how Jon M. Chu approaches adapting existing material.
Yeah, like finding that balance between honoring the original and bringing something new to it.
Yeah, it's a tricky thing.
It is.
Especially with something like Wicked.
Oh, totally.
You know, where there's already such a huge fan base.
Yeah, people have such strong feelings.
They do. About every detail.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't want to mess with that magic.
Right, but you also don't want to just recreate what's already been done.
Do a carbon copy.
Exactly.
You have to find a way to make it your own.
To make it fresh and exciting.
And I think that's what Chu does so well.
I agree.
He has this ability to take something familiar and breathe new life into it.
Like with Crazy Rich Asians, he stayed true to the spirit of the book, but he also brought his own visual flair, his own sense of humor.
His own energy to it.
And I think that's why it resonated with such a wide audience. Absolutely.
And, splitting Wicked into 2 movies.
Yeah, this is a big decision.
It was.
And I think it shows a lot of respect for the source material.
Oh, definitely. It's like he's saying, I'm not going to cut corners.
Yeah.
I'm going to give this story
the time and space it needs.
The time and space it deserves.
Exactly.
And I think fans will appreciate that.
Yeah. They'll see that he's not
rushing it.
Yeah, he's not trying to
cram it all in.
Force it into a box.
Exactly. He's letting it breathe.
And I think that's going to make for a much more more immersive experience.
Yeah.
And you know what else I find interesting?
What's that?
Is how Chu approaches the visual aspects of his films.
Oh, yeah. He's got such a distinctive style.
He does.
Like those sweeping camera movements.
The vibrant colors.
Yeah.
The dynamic editing.
It's like he creates these whole worlds.
He does.
That you just get lost in.
And he's not afraid to experiment.
No.
With different techniques.
Like in The Heights.
Oh, yeah.
He used a lot of really cool visual effects.
Right. To kind of bring
to create that.
Magical realism.
Yeah, to life.
Yeah. And it was so effective.
It was amazing.
And I think it speaks to his willingness to push boundaries and try new things.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting, too, how he balances those big spectacle moments with those really intimate, character-driven scenes.
He does.
It's like he knows how to
find that balance.
Yeah, find that balance.
Between the epic and the personal.
I think that's what makes his films so emotionally resonant.
They're not just empty spectacle.
Right.
There's real heart there.
There's real substance.
And I think that comes from his own personal values, his belief in the power of love and family.
And that sense of community.
Exactly. He brings those values.
Everything he does.
To the screen.
And I think audiences feel that.
They do.
They sense that authenticity.
It's what makes his films so special.
Yeah, it's like he's inviting you.
Into his world.
Yeah, into his world and into his heart.
And it's a world worth visiting.
It is.
It's a world filled with joy and hope.
And a belief in the power.
Of human connection.
Yeah, and I think that's
something we could all use a little more of.
Absolutely.
Especially these days. So,
what do you think?
What are some of the challenges
that Chu has faced?
In his career.
And how has he overcome them?
One of the biggest challenges for any director, especially someone like Chu, who's known for these big visual spectacles, is staying grounded.
Right. Not getting lost in all the...
in all the glitz and glamour.
Yeah, and the technology.
All the pressure to...
You outdo yourself.
Yeah, to top yourself every time. And I think Chu has talked about this.
Yes.
About how he has to constantly remind himself to come back to the heart of the story.
Yeah. To those core values.
Yeah, the things that really matter.
The things that connect us as human beings.
Exactly.
And I think that's what makes his films so
special.
Enduring.
They're not just empty entertainment.
Yeah. They have something to say.
They have a message.
About the world.
And I think that's why his work will continue to resonate.
With audiences for years to come.
I agree.
Yeah. And speaking of that, one of the things that I find so inspiring about Chu's journey is his willingness to use his platform to give back, to mentor others.
He's a big believer in paying it forward.
He is.
He's talked about how he's benefited from the mentorship.
From other people.
Of other filmmakers.
And now he's doing the same.
For the next generation.
For the next generation, yeah. And I think that's...
so important.
So important, especially in an industry.
Especially in Hollywood.
That can be so competitive.
Yeah, where it's easy... Get caught up in the ego. Yeah. And forget about the bigger picture.
Yeah. And I think that's what...
But Chu never forgets.
Makes Chu so unique.
He always remembers.
He's always looking...
To lift others up.
Yeah. And to create opportunities.
To create more inclusive and supportive... Community.
Yeah. And that's something I think we can all learn from.
Absolutely.
No matter what field we're in.
We can all strive...
Yeah.
To be more like Jon M. Chu.
To use... our talents and our platform.
To make a positive impact.
On
the world.
So
as we wrap up this deep dive.
Deep dive into Jon M. Chu.
We want to leave you.
with a few key takeaways.
Right.
First, embrace limitations.
Yeah, don't be afraid of constraints.
Use them as fuel for creativity.
They can actually make you more innovative.
And lead to
a better work.
Better work.
Yeah. Second,
never underestimate the power of collaboration.
Bring people together.
Yeah. Share ideas.
And create something bigger than yourselves.
And third, always remember the heart of the story.
The heart of the story.
The human element.
The human element. That's what connects us all.
That's what makes a story truly resonant.
And that's what makes Jon M. such a
special filmmaker.
A special filmmaker.
Yeah.
Yeah, so thank you.
Thank you.
For joining us.
For joining us.
On this deep dive into the creative mind.
Of
Jon M. We hope you've enjoyed it.
We hope you learned something.
And we hope it's inspired you.
To go out there.
And
tell your own stories.
Because
the world needs your voice.
The world needs your voice. Thanks for listening.